get my 6. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the most awesomest homesteading channel on the entire planet that has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with homesteading. Homesteading off the grid. So, get my 6 means watch behind me. For those of you who are new to the channel, you never know who or what may or may not show up in the backdrops of these videos. So I have a secret. I've kept this secret for at least 15 years. I guess I've kind of always had this issue my entire life, but I became actively aware of it about 15 years ago. And I'm going to share it with you today in this video because I think a lot of you share the same secret. And, you know, you've probably heard it said that we're only as sick as our secrets. I think it'll help you feel better if you share the same secret, knowing that you're not alone, because there's always strength in numbers, right? Have to make sure to hydrate. I'm sorry if that price tag triggered you. That triggers some people. The things that trigger people in the comment section. I mean, they let you know. But so anyway, I want to talk about a couple of things as I lead into this secret. And they both really have to do with energy, both physical and mental and emotional. You know, I'm a very observant person. I'm hyper vigilant as a result of my PTSD from the war in Iraq. I was a machine gunner, and it was my job to always be on the lookout for the threats, you know. And that's just something you don't turn off. So it's not that I'm on the lookout for any threats. I don't feel threatened here where I live. I feel perfectly safe. I know I'm perfectly safe, but I'm always observing. I'm vigilant, and I like it because I notice, for example, today there's an eggplant on our eggplant plant that wasn't there yesterday. I'll notice fruits on trees that weren't there the day before, or I'll notice trees that weren't there the year before. And I love this kind of stuff. I'm always outside. I'm kind of like a naturalist here on my own property, at least. So I like that. But I also, when I'm out in public, it can get a little overwhelming at times. If I'm in a situation that is overcrowded or too loud and I wasn't prepared for it, I can go I go to all the home UVA football games. I can go to concerts. I never have a problem in those places because I go there expecting it to be loud and noisy. But if I'm out in the general public and all of a sudden for some reason there's a crowd and it's kind of loud, sometimes I just have to leave. So, but I observe the people. I people watch. That's what I'm getting at. And there's something that I've been noticing in my observations of people here just in the last couple of years especially, and I think it's because I recently turned 50 back in November, so I am getting I'm aging, and I think that's a concern to all of us, especially as we do it. And you notice I use the term aging rather than getting older. Aging is inevitable. Getting older really is a choice, and I'm going to explain that in detail here in a bit. But what I've noticed is how many people out there in the general population have such difficulty with mobility, just simply moving, standing up from a table, sitting down in a chair, walking. And I'm not talking about people who you can tell are physically disabled, maybe they're handicapped, or maybe is suffering from an injury they've incurred. You know, these aren't people on crutches or have their ankle in a splint or a cast. And I'm not talking about physical deformities. You're always going to have those folks, those outliers out there. I'm talking about the general population. Now, I live right outside of Charlottesville, Virginia. So when I go into town, I'm talking about Charlottesville. It's kind of a retirement community. So the age of people there is probably a little bit older than the general population of the U.S. or whatever country you're watching from. Unless if you're in Germany, you have a very aged population over there. And I know what it stems from. It stems from just not moving. They don't move much. They probably are not active. These people that struggle with mobility, They probably do not exercise. Maybe they have a job or had a job where they were at a desk all day, or just physical movement was not a necessity to them with the work they did, and they didn't make themselves go out and do that which most people hate to do, which is exercise regularly, which I don't understand that, because I love it. I mean, I do it every day. Excuse me, every day. I can't wait to get up and go for my run or my bicycle ride, or maybe I'll reserve a day for just splitting firewood, because that's a good workout. I'll just do firewood all day. Today it was a 30-minute run. I ran about 4 miles. Listen, use it or lose it. If you're not moving, you're going to lose your ability to move. And we are seeing that now. And that's frightening. I see that, and at first it's frightening, but then I think, no, that's a choice. And I'm making the choice not to end up that way. And if you are there because you made the choice to not be active, it's never too late to get active. It's never too late to start moving. And you can reverse that getting old process that you've been going through. I always use an example of a couple of neighbors I have 2 neighbors. One's in his mid to late 70s, the other's in his mid to late 50s. So if you were to put them side by side and say, which one of these men is almost 80 and which one of these men aren't even 60 yet, still in their 50s, you'd point at the guy that is 75, I think he is now, and you'd say, well, he looks like he's about 58. Then you'd look at the other guy that is 58 and say, that dude looks 80, so he's got to be the one in his 70s. Well, you would have that wrong. It's reversed. And the reason why is because of lifestyle, which, again, is a choice. The older gentleman chooses to garden every day, even in the winter. He'll be out there amending his soil with oak leaves, black gold, they call it, when the oak leaves break down. It's probably some of the best fertilizer you can get. He still cuts, splits, and stacks his own firewood, even though he's in his 70s, uses an axe or a maul and a sledgehammer if it's a big round. And then, despite all that, he vigorously exercises. He walks. He doesn't run. I don't think he does any sort of weight training, but he makes sure to walk several miles a day. And I've had conversations with this guy, and he's told me what I'm basically telling you here now. He's got friends his age who, quit working in their 50s. They retired, and they said, I'm just going to sit here in this chair and watch TV and not do anything for a year. Then I'll figure out what I'm going to do in my retirement. So I'm just, beat from working. Well, that year goes by, and they can't get back up. I mean, figuratively, not literally. Yeah, they can get up, but it's hard on them. They put on 40 or 50 pounds. Their level of mobility has greatly decreased. They basically have allowed themselves to become disabled in comparison to their former selves. Okay, so, and he told me, he said, Kevin, just don't stop moving. No, he says, I know you run and you bike all the time. If you ever get to where you can't do that because of your joints or whatever, just walk like me, but keep moving. Because once you stop, you might not be able to start again. And I took that to head, and I took it to heart. The other guy that looks 80, even though he's still in his 50s, he just doesn't do anything. He doesn't do anything. He's one of these folks who has chased comfort. And let me tell you, chasing comfort, that is how you get old. We're all going to age, but if you're sitting around chasing comfort, you will become old, and then you'll die. An example, and again, just because I'm observant, you'll see this guy outside 2 weeks in the spring, 2 weeks in the fall. You never see him outside other than that. The guy that is in his 50s but looks 80. Why is that? Well, because for that 2 week period in the spring and that 2 week period in the fall here in our part of Virginia, the temperatures are between 68 degrees and 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, it's the same temperatures inside the house. But as spring goes on and the temperatures go up into the mid to upper 70s, he'll go back in the house and hide out for 6 months. He certainly doesn't want to be out there when it's in the 80s or the 90s. And then the same thing in the fall. He'll be outside until the temperatures drop. They get into the lower 60s. While he runs in the house before they get down to the 50s, the 40s, or the 30s. There's nothing wrong with desiring to be comfortable, but you can take it to a level to where it's really handicapping you. You are handicapping yourself due to your pursuit of comfort. Excuse me a second. I think I swallowed a gnat. It's not very comfortable. So I saw a guy today on Facebook. It was a reel. He was talking about why it is that as human beings, we consider ourselves to be the superior species, right? Top of the food chain. Well, that's all well and good until you drop us off in the woods or the jungle or the ocean without any weapons. Then we find we're at the bottom of the food chain, because in reality, we're one of the most physically insignificant species on Earth as a whole. Now, you've always got the outliers there. You got Simone Biles. Congratulations on yet another national championship, I think in 3 events in gymnastics. That young lady can do things with her body that just doesn't seem possible. But and then you've got, the athletes, the great athletes who focus on achievement in their field. Now, of course, they're physically superior to but as a group, as a species, we are very inferior physically. And this guy on Facebook said the reason why, there's one reason: tools. TOOLS. In our pursuit of comfort, with our technology and our innovation, always trying to make life easier and easier, we've made life so easy that if you really didn't want to do anything physical, you wouldn't have to. I mean, at least here in the U.S., where, we have the lifestyle that we do. You couldn't get away with this in the Philippines, where my wife's from and where we spent our last winter. If you're not willing to be physical over there, you're going to die. I mean, my little nephews, they have to walk an hour to school one way. They walk an hour back. They actually come home for lunch break. They get like a 2 or 3 hour lunch break. I know it's a little bit different than us. So then when they walk back home from school, they have to spend an hour taking this big cart with like these 6 5-gallon jugs a mile down the road to the community pump and filling them up with water to bring home, so that their mother can do laundry by hand in that water, so they can use that water to bathe with a bucket and a scooper. Listen, man, people, you got no clue. When we were over there this winter, we took those nephews, one of our little nieces, she's 16, 17, these boys were 14 and 15. We took them back into the city with us to stay for a week. And they not only, for the first time in their lives, had their first hot shower, they had their first shower, period. They'd never stood in a shower and taken a shower. And they were so excited to go into the city with us in the house we were living in to have a shower. The little girl, call her little girl, she's almost grown now, but I remember her from when she was a baby. She's always going to be a little girl in my eyes. I don't care if she's 30. When she's 30. She had never ridden in an elevator. So we went to a mall that we knew had an elevator just so she could ride the elevator. But I'm getting off topic. Listen, we're very spoiled over here in the U.S., and a lot of folks have taken their comforts too far, to the point to where they're pretty much physically handicapping themselves to where they're struggling with simple mobility. Folks, you got to get past this. If you're in that situation, go outside and do anything. Go for a walk. You don't have to run. Dearly is not exercising today, my beautiful bride, aka Giggly Girl, because she's putting flowers in a flower garden she's redoing. That's physical activity. That's mobility. And when you're gardening and when you're doing firewood, stacking firewood, you're moving your body in ways you normally wouldn't, even if you were exercising, because when you exercise, everything's got to be in a straight line or you're going to get hurt. You're going to pull a muscle, going to hurt your back. So there's benefits to just getting out and doing yard work that's more beneficial than even exercising in regard to mobility. All right, so there's that. And I wanted to share that with you because I go out in public and I see this, and I'm talking about people that are in their mid-50s struggling to just move, and it's because they just don't move enough. So, but the good news is it's never, that was a strange sound coming from the forest. It's never too late. Now, let's get to my secret. I've had this secret. Well, I think it's been something I've done my whole life. I've been actively aware of it for the last 15 years, and my wife knows about it. And they've finally proven it with science. And so I've talked about it before. I've alluded to it. And people call me cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but I can back it with science now, brah. What's my secret? The secret. Huh? What? The law of attraction. Many of you are aware of this. It's kind of like a philosophy. Many of you practice it. I prescribe to it. I follow it and I practice it. So the law of attraction, in its more simpler explanation, is that, our thoughts create a frequency, like an energy wave, and we send them out there. And the universe hears, it can sense these frequencies, and it gives us exactly what we're telling it that we want. You're like, oh, so if you just say, oh, I'm going to get rich, I'm going to get rich. Yeah, we did it. But listen, it's dangerous because it's not, when I say it gives us what we want, you got to make sure you're not thinking thoughts of things you don't want, because that's the frequency you're sending out. So let's say you're struggling financially and you're constantly saying, God, I'm broke. I don't have enough money to pay my bills this month. I'm not even going to be able to make my minimum credit card payments. Oh my gosh, I won't be able to pay rent. Can't pay the mortgage. That's what you're sending out there. And guess what? That's what the universe is giving you back. So if you're in a difficult situation, you've got to stay positive. You've got to send those positive vibes out. Now listen, I was just live streaming this on my Facebook page, Sick Twisted Humor. I had notes and I got poured on. The rain just poured down on me. And I don't know if I'll be able to even read these, but I can. Gary Brecka. He's on Facebook. Brecka, Brecka. He did a little video recently where he explained the science behind the law of attraction. I want to share that with you now. Okay, there is a physical principle to them. One's called constructive interference and the other one is called destructive interference. And these principles are as solid physical principles of physics as gravity is. Okay, we can't see gravity, but we know it's there. Nor can we see constructive and destructive interference, but we do know it's there, and it can be measured. And here's how they measured it. They took 25,000 people and put them in what's called a Faraday cage. Okay, a Faraday cage is like a big giant cell in which there are no frequencies of any sort. There's no radio waves, no microwaves, no cell phones are allowed in there. So it's just people. Okay. And then they used technology. They have amazing technology now to measure the frequencies coming off the people. This is their thoughts, their moods, their emotions. And they've got this down to such a science now, they could tell which people were experiencing which emotion. They could tell who was depressed. They could tell who was angry. They could tell who had a lot of jealousy within them. Okay? Now, get this. I can't, this isn't live, so I can't ask you. I'll ask you. I'll pause for your answer. What emotion do you think emitted the most powerful frequency? Think about it. Type it in the comments if you got a guess. Okay? Most of you probably guessed the same emotion I did. I said love. And when we were live on Facebook, everybody was saying love. No. The answer is not love, and the answer is actually 4 times more powerful than love as far as the frequency goes. It's authenticity. Authenticity. And authenticity is when your words are truthful and you believe what you're saying. Okay? Your words are truthful and you believe what you're saying. So, and they've got a scale for all this. It's called the Spain scale, not like the country. It's SPANE, and that stands for the scale of positive and negative energy. And what they found was this, okay? And this is why it's so important that you choose who you associate with, who you spend any amount of time with, okay? What they found is that when the frequencies are the same, let's say you're a positive person, and you probably are because you watch this channel. I'm a positive person. So you're sending out positive vibes. You get together with your friend or your family member who also sends out those positive vibes. The sum of that frequency doubles. This is why you enjoy talking to those people, okay? Because, wow, you feel even better now because you're with another positive person. You're talking about positive things, right? When the frequencies are opposite, that's where we get destructive interference. So you're positive. Along comes negative Ned, who's always bitching about something, complaining about his wife, complaining because he doesn't have enough money, griping because something needs repaired and he doesn't have the money to fix it because everybody's charging too daggone much. Well, so here your positive vibes and his negative vibes meet and they cancel each other out. The sum gets canceled. However, you're still affected, and so's negative Ned. He's going to leave, or she, if it's a negative Nelly, is going to leave that conversation feeling better because he kind of absorbed your positive vibes. And you're going to leave that conversation feeling worse. You're going to feel negative because you just absorbed his or her negative vibes. When I meet people, I like everybody at first. I do. I give everybody a fair shake. And I have people that I completely disagree with on many major topics who are some of my best friends. Why? Because they're positive. And they're intelligent. They're emotionally intelligent. We can disagree on political candidates. We can belong to different political ideologies and still be best of friends because they're positive. I'm positive. We're emotionally intelligent. And we know, hey, the other 95% of the things we got going on in our life, we have a lot of that in common, okay? So I will be friends with pretty much anybody until, of course, they do a couple of things. If they disrespect me or my family, if they're racist, or if they're negative. If I'm with somebody and I deem them to be a negative energy emitting individual, I will no longer have communication with that individual because I don't want to continue to suck up their negative emotions while I give them, my positive vibes. There's a guy who used to come around here. He was always bitching and complaining, and a couple of them really. I had to make a separation between both of them. And he would always feel better after he talked to me for 5 or 10 minutes, and he would start smiling. He'd go on his way. But then I would feel bad for the next 5 days. And it's here I am. I'm with my wife and kid. We've got the perfect life. We're in great health. We got food in the house, money in the bank, not a worry in the world. But this guy comes over complaining about his wife, about how mean she is to him. I'm I can't relate, bro. My wife treats me like a king, complaining about not having enough money. He never worked. Goes for extended periods of time without doing any work. And you wonder why you don't have any money, you know what I mean? But what it was he was saying isn't so much as important as the frequency of negativity that just comes out of his soul, which sucks the energy out of mine. And so I got to where I was kind of let him know that one day, and then he didn't like hearing what he heard. He never came back, and thank God for small miracles. Because listen, that's another way you get old. Aging is inevitable. Getting old's a choice. What do they say? You don't stop playing because you get old because you stop playing. I actually said that to some cyclists I saw 2 weeks ago. 2 men, had to be one late 60s, early 70s, and 2 women who were probably 50-ish, about my age. They were all out cycling together, and they were stopped there to take a water break as I came, barreling around the corner. And I told them that, I was like, hey, man, you inspire me. I told these guys that, and the women, you're out here doing this stuff. And I looked at the oldest of the group. He was like a 72-year-old man. I said, you're living proof that you don't stop playing because you get old because you stop playing. And they're all like, right on, man, have a great run, So there's the mobility part, the physical activity part. And then if you're negative on top of that, you're going to look 80 even though you're only 58. You're not physically active and you're an a-hole. That will put you in the grave. That will cause disease, illness. Wow. It'll make you complain about people leaving the price tags on their tumblers. Yeah, man. So anyway, hope y'all got something out of this. Got a lot of demo videos coming up. My sponsors are being very kind to me, and they're sending me a lot of neat stuff. So watch for those. They're coming. And I don't know, maybe you saw a Bigfoot Sasquatch back here in the woods behind my house today. Maybe you didn't. I have a theory. I mean, Bigfoot Sasquatch is really only hiding from the IRS. That's my theory. They don't want to be taxed and regulated, man. I honestly, you're going to think I'm a nutcase. After everything I just talked about, you're like, wow, this guy's like a wise sage, you know. He's even got the long hair and the fake shark tooth necklace. Bought that in the Philippines this winter. But now, did you hear this? Okay. It's possible that when Meriwether Lewis and Roger Clark were making their expedition, now for anybody under 30, you probably don't know about this because they've canceled. Seriously, my kid went to a grade school that was built on land that was once part of the Meriwether Lewis family's estate. It was a 5,000 acre estate, and it was named after him. They changed the name, named it after a creek that flows behind the school, because they want to cancel him because he owned slaves. I understand that's terrible. I understand that's a part of our past that is an embarrassment and it's shameful. Still happened. You took his name off the school, but he still did that thing. And so now, but they never taught my son one thing about the Lewis and Clark expedition. Well, because no, canceled. But there's a theory, don't know who came up with it, that they may have met a Bigfoot Sasquatch tribe on their way out, to Oregon. And they said, hey, we're the new rulers of the land. Your great father is now in D.C. or Charlottesville, Thomas Jefferson, because that's who sent him on this expedition in 1803. You guys can keep living the way you want to live, but you got to pay us like, 30% of anything you earn. And a Bigfoot Sasquatch like, we don't earn anything. We just grow our food. We chase down the deer. Well, you got to give us the 30% of the value of that. And, and this stuff over here you like to smoke, we're going to regulate that and tax that. And I think Bigfoot, and also, I also think Lewis and Clark may have said, and since you guys and girls are so much bigger and stronger than everybody, you're going to be required to do more work, but you're not going to get paid any extra because you should just do it because you're superior in that sense. You're privileged with your size and strength. I think Bigfoot Sasquatch got together. They said, guys, these people are nuts. Let's go hide out in the Pacific Northwest and make sure they don't find us because we're not going to be taxed and regulated like everybody else. It's just a theory. All right. I had to get that in there because I was sounding a little bit too wise and a little bit too intelligent. So I hope you got something out of this. See you for more next time from the greatest homesteading channel on the internet that has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with homesteading. Homesteading off the grid.